Right now, I want to bring in former Democratic presidential candidate, Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts. And, Senator, I've had, I think you know this. We've known each other for a long time. I'm a really conservative guy. I'm a small government guy. You and I disagree with a lot of things, but people have been saying, well, what if Senator Warren, who's the Democratic, I said, you can go as far right as you want to go. You can go as far left as you want to go. I know that the overwhelming majority of people who are running for president respect and will defend the Constitution of the United States of America. Ideology is second. And Claire McCaskill, your former colleague, just brought up a great question. How could it be that in 2020, we have a president and a vice president that refuse to say that they will support a peaceful transfer of power? It really makes every other issue secondary, doesn't it?
It does, because this is a reminder of who Donald Trump is and who Mike Pence has signed up to play second fiddle to. And Donald Trump is someone, it's all about Donald Trump. And it has been from the very beginning. We're kind of in a classic case of he's told us who he is. He told us last time around in 2016 that he wouldn't accept the results unless he was the one who won. And that has been how he's managed everything. The pandemic has been part of it. Dealing with white nationalists has been part of it. It has all been about how does Donald Trump think he looks? Remember how he evaluated those early press conferences about COVID? It was about his ratings. Not about the fact that Americans were dying, not about the fact that this virus was spreading unchecked across our nation. It was all about Donald Trump. And he says, Constitution, not his problem. All he cares about is Donald Trump and retaining power for Donald Trump. That by itself is a reason to vote against him.
So let's talk about a second issue that I think I would place second. You might as well. The fact that Mike Pence last night continued to lie about the fact that Donald Trump and Republican lawyers and Republican attorney generals and Republican members of Congress have been working for the past 4 years to blow in 1,000 pieces the pre-existing mandate protections that were put in place by the Affordable Care Act. And also, may I add, that 10 years after the Republican Party attacked the Affordable Care Act and continue to attack over the past decade, they still don't have a health care plan that will protect Americans during this pandemic and after the pandemic. Can you talk about what you saw last night and the stark difference between Mike Pence and Kamala Harris?
So, boy, you hit it right when you said stark difference. I thought Kamala was terrific when she just started out on health care, on the failure of the president in this pandemic. But then when she said, if you have a pre-existing condition, then the Republicans are coming for you. And there's plenty of history to back that up. That's where she was. That's what she staked out. You want to talk about anything else about the Democrats? We are the party that's trying to protect and expand your access to health care. The Republicans, when Pence was pushed just a little bit, what is your health care plan? And it's that magic plan that has no details. And he just doesn't want to talk about the fact that the Republicans have been to the Supreme Court before to try to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, made their number one job when they got into Congress, other than cutting taxes for millionaires and billionaires, was to overturn the Affordable Care Act, which they ultimately failed at. And then they're back in the Supreme Court next November in order to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, in order to take away protection from the tens of millions of people across this country who have pre-existing conditions, to take away health insurance from tens of millions of people, to tell people under 26, you're not going to get to stay on your parents' plan. There's the difference. If you care about your health, if you know someone whose health you care about, then you got to be with Kamala and with Joe Biden on this.
Yeah. Senator, we think Mike Barnicle is running your camera because
no, it's the morning light.
We have the sunlight coming in behind you. You look heavenly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go. Yeah, turn. If you can go to your left, go to your left with the camera. But we're going to break away from you and your shot while you adjust, and we're going to go to Elise Jordan for a second. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.